All right, guys. So this is episode number 50 of Latino Vegano, Latin Vegan. Can you imagine? I've already been doing this for almost a year now. And today I have a special guest, a good friend of mine, my coach, Michele. Michele, aka the Posing Queen. Michele, she's a former NPC bikini competitor. She's a certified head judge, certified nutritionist, and posing coach with over 60 pros. Wow. She coaches people in the bikini, figures, men's physique, women's and men's classic bodybuilding, kids. I mean, you name it, she's doing it all. But she also is a professional vegan model and spokesperson. That's even amazing. So, Michele, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Latina, latinoyvegano.com.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Awesome. Great, great. Thank you so much. So, before we go into like the whole aspect of posting and competing, I want us to tell us a little bit about your story, since you know this is a plant-based vegan show aimed for that demography. I want us to tell a little bit about your story, how you got into the plant-based, because you never know who your story inspired, right? Right. We never know who's gonna get inspired by listening to your story and my story. So, tell us a little bit of how that happened, and then transition that into competing in bikini.
Sure, yes. Well, most of my life I've been a vegetarian. Just by nature, actually, I think my body just always knew what it wanted to do. So my family really didn't force me,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know about being vegetarian or being vegan or anything like that. That's just was my preference. And
Right.
then whenever I started competing, my coach at the time was like, you can't do it being a vegetarian. And basically it was just that she didn't have the knowledge in order to push me towards competing as a vegan or a vegetarian, because as both of us know, it's a huge community of bodybuilders who are plant-based.
Right.
But anyway, about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the sport of bodybuilding and then also knowing about health and nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
where I was diagnosed, I did a lot of my own research. And what I
Right.
found was that we can really heal the body by being more plant-based.
Right.
And so I didn't want to be put on medication. I'm not pro that. I know that some people need it, and I do
Right.
encourage those who do need it to do that. But for me, I wanted to take more of a holistic approach to it.
I agree.
And so by doing my research and already wanting to be pretty much vegetarian, I decided to go completely vegan. And again, because that's what you read, that is what is preferred.
Right.
And now 3 years later, I've been successful at being completely vegan, and I'm really hardcore vegan just because, like I said, of my health. I don't really include tofu, any seitan, any of those types of things, and that's
Right.
just because of my personal choice and my disorder. It kind of leans a little bit towards not having the soy products into it, so I do it like that. But in the process of doing it, about 4 years ago, I guess it was, Natalie Matthews, which most people know her as the IFB Vegan Pro. She came to me for posing, and that was my first time really getting a good background about competing and being vegan. And that was whenever I was going through my transition to become full vegan. So working along with her and following her page and her recipes kind of allowed me to get a better idea. And so now I'm very happy. Last year was my first year along with you, because I had you for a while there. But last year was my first time I had 6 vegan competitors underneath me. And that was just incredible to be not only a vegan coach and model, but to be able to work with my own community in the sport that I'm so engulfed in. So I was very, very proud about that last year.
That's crazy. 6 competitors. Like that's amazing. Like
Competitors.
when do you imagine like you can say, you know what, I have 6 vegan competitors, clients, like not only clients, but bodybuilders on bikini competitors. Like when like times have changed so much that now we have like I said, a community, and then we can rely on each other and support each other at the same time. Like some of these guys, I don't probably don't even know them, but just the simple fact that they were vegan was like there's a sense of like a friendship there. you know. And
Exactly.
then, and like Larry, for example, is one of those athletes, and he's competing now soon. And I was like, I'm not competing, but I'm just gonna go support you. And I met Larry in the competition we did in August.
Yes.
I'm sorry, October was the competition. Yeah. So I just literally just met him. So that's a cool thing about it. But yeah, that's great. And how was your journey like competing? Like took you to the sport of bodybuilding? How you got into it?
Oh my God. It was such a crazy whirlwind
Yeah.
because I had never been introduced to the world of bodybuilding, had
Yeah.
no interest. And even whenever my friend showed me a picture of what bikini competitors look like, I was like,
Right.
no, I don't look like that. I don't want to have that much muscle. And then he showed me a picture of a bikini competitor in her off season. I was like, that's what I want to look like, which is the craziest thing because most people like the way it looks when you're lean and you're shredded, but not me. But I think it's also because I started with modeling, and in
Right.
modeling, we can't have the amount of muscle that you can in
Right.
that. But nonetheless, actually, I started competing on a dare. One of my friends was a fellow spin instructor, and we taught classes together. And she was like, let's do this bikini competition. And I was like, no, thank you. I'll train with you because I am interested in getting a little bit more muscle, being healthier. And, but I don't want to do the show with you.
Mm.
And long story short, about 2 weeks out, she decided to drop out of the competition. I had already bought my suit. I had already been practicing posing. I was like, absolutely not. I'm going to see it through. To my surprise, my very first time on that stage, I absolutely loved it. And
Mm.
so that's how I started competing.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that story. And now that we're talking about competing, tell us a little bit about like what is the like the mindset you need to have when competing. I talk a lot about these mindset concept, and a lot of people think I'm crazy when I talk about it, but I feel like you really have to have the proper mind, the proper mindset when you go into this type of things. I always tell people that fitness, losing weight, gaining weight, not only 80% is dieting, or 90%, I could say 80% is dieting, the other percent, or the remaining percent, the 20% is the exercising or the fitness aspect. But I will also include what the mindset that you need to have. So you, from a coaching standpoint, from a judge standpoint, let's talk about from a ex competitor standpoint as well. Competitor standpoint, what's the mindset you need to have when you go into stage and when you compete or when you get into any type of journey like this?
You're exactly right. I actually go a step above and say it's 90% mental.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
about 5% diet, and I always say it's probably more than that, about 7% diet, and then 2% working out. Let's just be
True.
honest. We all can go to the gym. We don't have a problem going to the gym and working
Right.
out. 7% is diet, and it's extremely important. But I say 90% mental because you have to have a made up mind in order that you want to do this.
Correct.
It's not the same as if you did a sport in high school. I think most of us come from some type of an athletic background.
Yeah.
When you're doing a team sport, you have the camaraderie, you have that team effort and everything into that. It's not just relying on yourself. You have if you're playing basketball, you have 4 other people on the court with you. If you're playing football, you have 9 other competitors on the team with you. This is a very individualized sport. I say you have to be selfish about you because
Mm,
it's 100% about you, and it's you versus you. It's
mm,
not you versus whoever else comes to the stage. And yes, you are competing against other people, but it starts within your mind, and
mm.
you have to get there first. You have to complete everything in order to get to that stage to meet the other competitors.
Right.
So you're exactly right. It starts in the mind. It's a mind game. There's days that you'll want to go and then you don't want to go. There's days you want to cheat on your diet. There's days that you're perfect on your diet. All
Yeah.
of it is mental.
Right.
And that's my biggest thing. That's the reason why I say 90%. Of course, I'm exaggerating just a bit, but you have to have determination.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have consistency. You have to have
Mm,
resilience in this sport because I tell every competitor that comes to me, no one has a perfect prep. If it could happen, it probably will happen. This one time that you will have something go wrong will be while you're prepping.
Yeah.
I looked at this past week. Of course, we were scheduled to do that, but with the snowstorm, a lot of competitors were in prep. I had 2 competitors that competed on last Saturday, and we know the first 5 days we were snowed in. You know, the resiliency to be able to still see something through and actually compete and stay consistent on your diet, stay consistent on your workouts, and keep that mind frame to continue through the journey is everything.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You can't say that perfect. Yeah, it's actually the way it's supposed to be, because at the end of the day, like you say, you competing against your own self, your own demons. Like, do I look good? Do I have enough energy to go on
Oh my God.
stage? Yeah, I mean, all these things, all these paradigms and things are going through your mind, that you have to battle those things. So that's where the mindset comes. Like you said, there might be days that you don't feel like waking up because you're so extremely tired. Your workouts are 2 hours, and then you gotta go practice posing again for another hour.
Right.
Right. So think about all these things. So you definitely have to be determined. That's like the big thing. So and we all have this cliche like, well, you already won. You won on stage, and we all want to win. We all have this goal, because you have to be driven. You have to push yourself. But at the same time, is how do you how you battle all those inside demons, or whatever is going on, the outsiders, friends asking you, let's go out, let's go party, let's do all these things, and
Absolutely.
whatever. You're like, no, I can't. I'm competing. I'm prepping. I can't go out and eat extremely amount of calories at this point. I mean, we can do that after. All these things that, like, that's why we all talk about you need to have the proper mindset, and this can apply for anything in life. But we're talking right now about bodybuilding and competing and fitness. But yeah, it's applied for everything that you do.
Very
So
well stated, because it is so important. You do have those outside factors that are also influencing you.
a lot, I mean, a lot of, like, imagine, like, from males and female perspective, like your friends asking you why you look this way. Some say you look amazing, but they just your friends. Sometimes they're being supportive, or they're not very supportive. I don't like the way you look.
Yeah, you're
You got
getting too skinny, or you have way too much
muscle.
muscle. I know that's a thing, but okay.
That's right. So how do you block all those messages, all those negative comments, and you continue to push yourself? And one of the benefits of having a coach like you, because he allows you to be honest about your prepping performance. Because that's one thing that I want to discuss further now, how the honesty that you were with all your competitors, including myself. I can only speak for myself. I don't know how you coach the other ones, but how we was honest and during our prep, and then use like, you got to work on this. This is what you're doing good, and so on and so forth. And I think that's a benefit and a key factor of a great coach. We will talk about that later. But before we go there, I wanted to ask you about how do you judge competitions? Tell us a little bit about how the judges think, and what is it that they're looking for from a judge standpoint, from everyone that goes on, say, either male or female.
Great question. The most important thing in competing is whichever federation, and
Mm-hmm.
most of them are still the same thing, is you want to make sure that you look at the criteria. The main things that we're looking for is your symmetry, your muscle development, and your conditioning. Those are the 3 main things. There's other objects that we look for depending on where you judge. But those are the main 3 across the board. I don't care if you're in NPC, NFF, GBO, IMBF, doesn't matter. Those 3 are the solid foundations of the criteria. Okay. So you want to make sure that when you're training for this, that you look at your symmetry. In other words, you want your upper body to match your lower body. You don't want to have, you see the guys in the gym that they want to work on nothing but upper body. And I use that as an example because it's something that we can all relate to. Yeah. We've seen it all the time. And they got these little small legs.
Chicken legs, they call it.
Chicken legs. But, not a good thing, especially as you know, as a male bodybuilder, it will not do you any good if you go into there with a big upper body, shredded, nice muscle bellies and everything, but you got these chicken legs. Your symmetry is off already. So already you know that you're going to come in lacking into that area. The other thing is your muscle development. knowing whether you have enough muscle or not enough muscle, depending
Right.
on the category that you're really entering in. As a bodybuilder, you need to have that muscle development. You have to
Right.
have full muscle bellies, the striations in there. But however, as for me, as a bikini competitor, we
Right.
can't be overly muscular in that category.
Right.
So really making sure that you know what the judges are looking for based on your division that you're actually competing in. And then the conditioning. Again, making sure that you come in well conditioned. And it doesn't matter whether you're in bikini or you're in bodybuilding or anywhere in between. Your conditioning has to be there. In other words, just because I'm cute and everything doesn't mean that I'm ready to step on stage. My conditioning also has to be there. So those are the three main criteria that we're looking for um, in competing. In addition to that is your overall presentation. How
Okay.
well can you sell yourself in the category that you're doing that? As a bikini competitor, what I usually tell my girls is we judge from head to toe. We're looking at your hair, we're looking at your makeup, we're looking at your tan. On top of your posing, how do you present yourself in this category,
Right.
along with your lines, the muscle development, the conditioning, your symmetry. It's an all around type of thing, especially for bikini girls.
Okay.
Same thing in bodybuilding. That we're looking for a nice full physique. Your conditioning is on point. But I tell my guys, you can't just get up there and go, oh, I'm muscular, here I am.
Right.
You still got to present that. You got to showcase it. If you
Right.
don't open up into a pose, we can't see it. We may think that you have enough, a big back. But if you're not opening that back all the way up, you've already lost. So it is a full stage presentation. And you have to look like you want to be there. I see a lot of times, a lot of our girls are really good about smiling. I think just as women,
Right.
we usually smile more. When
Right.
you see guys and they're taking pictures, they get that whole, yeah.
Because I want to showcase that I'm the strongest and the meanest, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
we know you and I from working together, like I never had that with you. You
Right.
always have a great personality, you're
Yeah.
always upbeat. And so for me as a coach, I really wanted to capitalize on that because I see so
Right.
many guys come up, like you're saying, they want to be macho and strong. And I'm like, but we still want to see that you're fun, that you're relatable, that you have
Right.
a great personality, and that needs to be displayed as well.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's a good point. When you say conditioning, can you elaborate more a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of people might think that conditioning means like you have to have a physical condition, like you have to be able to run and contain yourself and not be gassed out.
Oh, that's a great point. Okay. Great point. Because one of the things that as as you see competitors, you think that this is a healthy sport, and it
Right.
can be.
Right.
But whenever you really look at it, it's not the most healthiest because you're right. Most of the people, especially as you move up into the categories, figure, classic bodybuilding, if you ask these people to be able to run 3 miles, a lot of them won't be able to do it. They don't have the stamina in order
Right.
to do it. What we're looking for and what we consider within conditioning is that we are now able, you've done enough cardio, you've done enough training to be able to showcase your physique with the leanness that comes into that, where we can see your full muscle bellies, where we can see your striations depending on where it is, more of the cuts that comes in that. So it's more into the leanness of the body versus the
Physical
endurance.
endurance. Okay. That's awesome. That's great. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, we're gonna see you shredded enough from a man's standpoint. And so I'm talking about the different type of categories in the women division. I know you guys have a lot, probably a little bit more than men's, because men's probably have 3 or 4 if, but I think you guys are a little bit more. Can you tell us a little bit? I know this might vary depending on the federations, but it's pretty universal. You got bikini and you got classic physique, you got physique for women's as well. Can you tell us a little bit about those categories for the ones that are interested in like maybe competing, but they don't know where to start, how to start?
Sure. So we start off with our bikini, and it's called different in different federations. And
Right.
GBO is usually called Women's Beach Body,
Mm,
but for most of the federations, it is bikini, and
okay.
that is a more of a aesthetic type of a look. You have your girls who are a little bit smaller, but long, lean lines to their physique, nice glutes. That's the main thing that we're looking at whenever we're looking at that. We're looking at their glutes, making sure they're nice and full and everything into that. A very conditioned body, have a little bit of shoulder caps, not too full onto that, the small waistline, and rounding it out with those nice glutes, nice legs into that.
Mhm.
So for most of your girls who are just now getting started, they will fall in line with that category. It's the most popular amongst the girls. Um, Sometimes it can be taken the wrong way because you see the girls really tiny, and that's not
Yeah.
necessarily what we're really looking for, is like
Mm,
who's the tiniest girl who's on stage. You still got to look like you work out, number one. You still have to have some muscle tone into you. It's just not being extremely muscular.
mm, okay.
Then you move on into what has become very popular, which is your wellness category.
Mm,
Again, in like NPC, IFBPA, those federations, it's called wellness, and GBO is called shape.
mm,
And those are for your girls who generally don't get as lean as your bikini girls. They also have bigger legs, bigger booty. These are the girls that you've tried to kind of you look at that has more shape to them, and that's kind of the reason why GBO named it shape.
mm,
Small waist still into their. They can have a little bit bigger shoulders,
right.
more muscle in the abs, because your bikini girls usually don't be able to show a six pack in your wellness category. You can see a little bit more of that.
Mhm.
So how you can kind of differentiate this is it's somewhere in between bikini and figure,
Okay.
right there in the middle. They don't have enough muscle tone or striations to fit into the figure category,
Right.
but they're also a little too big for the
For
bikini.
bikini. Okay.
So those girls who work continuously in the gym, but probably don't come in as small, as
Right.
lean, but still have a bigger legs. You know, a lot of times they get punished whenever they do bikini. They're not winning like you would think they will, because they have a little bit more muscle. They have a little bit more thickness to them.
Right.
So that's a great category that they came out with to really fit those girls. I like to say this is for my Black and Latina
Yeah.
community. You know,
Hmm.
nationally we're a little bit thicker in the lower area,
Right.
and so sometimes you don't fit into the bikini uh, category, but this is very perfect for them. So when you
Right.
think of like J Lo and how great her butt is, this
Right.
is your girl.
So
For
that's a good thing, Michelle, right? Because by having different kind of categories, because a lot of girls say, well, I don't want to get too big, or I don't want to get too little. So it's just finding the right category that you can fit in, blend in, and be successful in that one. So
absolutely,
that's a good way of saying it, right? That if you are more of a bigger booty and you got a big boob or whatever the case is, you can find that category that kind of go perfectly with your style of your shape.
absolutely. And another thing that I kind of point out about that is symmetry. We talked
Hmm.
just a little bit ago about how
Right.
important the symmetry. These girls usually are not symmetrical to fit into that bikini category. They're usually
Mm,
a little bit smaller on the upper top and really bottom heavy. And
right.
so that throws off your symmetry. Again, you're not going to win in bikini in that. And so now you really fall into wellness.
Okay. I know a lot of girls and guys too. Sometimes they're like, well, "What is this all different? Like you just go up and they think bodybuilding. They just think you just go flex and that's about it. But there's so many things behind that. And speaking about coaching, like what is it important to have a posing coach on top of having a fitness coach, a competition coach? What is important of having one?
um, Extremely important.
Right.
And I don't say that just because that's what I do. I am a
Right.
certified personal trainer. It's not something that I like. So I stay in my lane. I let people go to their trainer and be trained. I stick to the posing because that's what I love and that's what I'm really good at.
Right.
But posing wins shows. I say that all the time. And it's not just something that I say, it's actually shown on stage whenever we're judging. You
Right.
can have the best physique on stage, but if you don't know how to showcase it and present it, it doesn't matter. You're not going to win. It's important to hire a trained posing coach. There's a lot of people who do posing, but they're not familiar with the different posing, or they're not aware of what's required in different federations. And that's
Right.
also important as well. Making sure that when you go to hire a posing coach, you should be asking some important questions. What federations are they affiliated with? Are they aware of the regulations, the guidelines that are needed in the federation that you're competing in?
Mm.
And then how do they do their posing? For me in particularly, I don't like to do group posing
Mm.
because I like one-on-one. I like
Mm.
to make sure that you thoroughly understand how to pose. When you're in a group dynamic, you're only getting a little bit of attention.
Right.
Um, and for me, I'm so concentrated on what I do. I like to give each person that individualized attention. So for me, I'll usually do like some seminars and stuff like that, but I don't really offer group posing. I do one-on-one, whether it be online or in person. And that's really important whenever you're searching for a posing coach. What type did they do? If you're only going to get group posing, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get fully the amount of attention and information on how to properly pose.
Okay.
Because posing should be tailored towards your strengths, your personal
Got it.
physique. So, in other words, not everybody should be doing the same poses. There's some things when we come to our mandatories, as you know, as a
Right.
bodybuilder, first things is front double bicep. Those things are what we're really looking for, and you need to know how to do it. But what may look good on you may not look good on the next bodybuilder. So
Mm.
how you position it, how you position your legs, how you position your arms may be a little bit different. So that's the reason why I really encourage one-on-one coaching.
Well, how I met Michelle was through Matt, my coach. And so Matt told me, yeah, you need to go holler at Michelle and then get a couple sessions with her so she can improve your posting. I'm like, yeah, do I think I need it? Like, yes, you do. So that's how that's how I got in contact with you. And automatically when I met you and we started talking, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I need. One thing is, you help me build my confidence. You make me feel like, okay, you can do this. You're here to get this thing done. So we're just gonna work in what your strengths are, and maybe this guy a little bit of your weaknesses because, like, we all have some.
Absolutely.
So you got to work on those and emphasize what you're good at. And I was like, I don't understand, what does that even mean. I had no idea what you meant. But then when you started showing me, actually, it was like, nah, look, if you do this way, you do this pose, and you stand this way, then they can see this part of your body, look, see, and then you can hide this part of your body. I'm like, oh, okay. Now everything started to make a lot more sense. And then the other thing is, like, you told me you got to work on a routine. Do you have a routine? I'm like, no. Okay, so what's your music? All those things, that's the benefit of also having a coach, because he or she can guide you in the sense, like, of course I want you guys to call Michelle, but otherwise you make sure that they know, like you said, they know what they're talking about. They know the federations, how much is the time they need for your presentation to come out, what is it is you need to do, and so on and so forth. So for me, I think that's a key value that a posing coach brings to the table. And I really appreciate that, what you do for all of competitors. Maybe we not always say thank you for that, but I'm gonna go say in behalf of all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. You're welcome. Especially for me, bro. A lot of confidence, and I felt on stage good. I mean, there was to a point that I think you say, like, you have to practice your routine so much that it kind of turns natural. You don't, I mean, kind of naturally. You don't necessarily saying those words, but you're saying you gotta be able to practice your routine, that when you go on stage, that you're not stumbling upon things. And that's what I sense it. Like, I know that when you're competing, you have to Okay, you have to train, of course. You have to keep up your diet, and you have to post. That's part of it. And posting not should be all year long. I mean, maybe now, even though I'm on my off season, I can still be should be practicing my posting because, like I said, it should be natural. What do you think about that, practicing off season posting?
Absolutely. I tell every single one of my competitors, just because you take some time off and we know what growth season is about,
Hmm.
you should still be posing.
Right.
This is a year-round thing. I haven't been on the stage since I think 2014 was my last year competing. I still practice posing, and not just because I'm a posing coach, but how can I get better, or how can I make
Hmm.
anyone else better if I'm not doing my own research? So even if I'm doing that as a coach, I encourage my competitors. And actually, I have a competitor who's not competing until 2022. We pose at least once a month. She knows her goals, she knows what she needs to work on. And so we still stay present into that. And I always encourage it because, like you're saying, it's not practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Mm,
You gotta perfect what you're good at or
right.
what you want to be good at. This is a process, it's a journey. It's not something that just comes naturally. And for those who are natural at it, they still have to work at it. You still got to put in the work. It's
Right.
like anything else in life. Um, you got to nurture it.
Yeah.
And so if you really want to be good at your craft, you got to work.
It's true. It's like any other sport. I mean, you take the analogy of any professional athlete, right? Not
Mhm.
just because they're professional, but it could be a non-professional also, amateur, whatever the category is. They have an off season and an in season. Even in the off season, they're practicing. They're not. They might take a few days off, but they still go to the gym. They still do their workouts. They still practice their sport. Why is it different with bodybuilding and posing? It's all
And most
so
people practice harder and more in the off season. If you
right.
think about Kobe Bryant, Mamba
Mhm.
mentality and how he really talked about that,
Right.
he had to work even harder in the off season on his weaknesses in
Right.
order for him to capitalize and make it come to fruition whenever he actually was in season.
True.
A lot of people think that, okay, because you're the great, you're the GOAT out there, you're just born with this. The reality is that even if you're born with natural talent, you still have to work at it. And that's kind of like what Kai Green says, what's the word? What is it? I forget. But hard work outweighs natural.
Mental talent. Yeah, that's it. Kyle is a beast. Kyle is a beast, but he's a very cerebral guy. Like he's a very intellectual guy too. I like the way he approach things too, and the way he poise and talk and say and motivates people. Michelle, do you coach males and female, right? So there's a difference when you approach coaching a male to a female routines and how do you do that?
Everybody's the same. I try to
Mhm.
give every single client 100%, 100% of my effort, 100% of my knowledge. I try to make sure that everybody understands every single thing. My coaching is a little bit different because now that I'm a judge, I do coach based on criteria and what we're
Mm,
actually looking for. So I make sure that the posing meets the requirements and the guidelines of what the judges are actually looking for.
mm,
Um, but of course, it is a little bit different with my bodybuilders. You have routines that you have to make sure that you do. I
mhm,
try to make each routine fit the individual's personality. I think that's really important.
mhm,
I try to really express that, you're on stage, not me. So you have to sell it. And we have to make sure that the routine not only fits your personality, but it really showcases the best aspects of your physique.
mhm,
That's really, really important. You never want to show your weaknesses. You always want to show your strengths. So for example, if your back is just really strong, I try to showcase your back a lot more. If
right.
you have a lot of height, and we know as male bodybuilders, a lot of them are shorter, I really try to play up to your height, um, whatever it may be. But I really try to focus on those types of things. I never try to change anybody in my
Mhm,
posing. If
mm,
someone's a outgoing person, a big personality, I want to showcase that personality on stage. If you're a really reserved or shy person, Of course, I want to bring you out of that shyness so that you can shine on stage, but I don't want to ever change anybody. And I see that a lot more in my females than in my males. A lot of times whenever I have my bikini girls, a lot of them, for whatever reason, I always say it's the shifting of the universe. God sends them to me. I get a lot of tomboy girls.
Really?
A lot. And I am the most girly girl that you could possibly ever find. But I went in a lot of tomboys. And one of the biggest things that I had with 3 of my girls is they worked with prior posing coaches, and they always tried to just mold them into something that they want. And I said, that is who you are. I don't want to change who you are. Right. I want to work with what you naturally have and really bring that to life. Okay. And, you know, normally I give them a little bit more girly to them. You got to, because it's the category. Right. But at the same time, I want to make sure that it stays true to who they really are. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yes. It's so important. Again, you are on stage, and you got to sell that to the audience, to the judges. And so it's really important that you shine as an individual. In most of these categories, whether it be bikini, you know, bikini, we have a front and back pose. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot that you can do and change into that, but transitions allows you to show more of your personality. Got it. In bodybuilding, you know, everybody has to do the front double bicep, the rear double bicep, those things. But how you really set yourself up, how you transition into that, really allows you to be you on stage. And that's really important. So as a coach and working with males and females, my first thing is to really try to get to know my clients. Okay. I don't treat it as just you're here, you show up, here's the moves, okay, see you next week. No, I do a lot of talking, that's part of the reason why I like one-on-one, because it gives me the opportunity to learn who you are as a person. Just small fact is that I come from being a therapist as a counselor. So naturally I have the ability to kind of get to know people, but I try to use that in making a presentation and coming up with a routine so that you are able to showcase a little bit of that on stage as well.
Yeah, that's great, Michele. So I know that this probably from this more from a coaching standpoint and from a therapist standpoint. I know sometimes girls and guys face that their partners don't disagree of their competition journey, especially like, you know, mostly from the male standpoint, because they get kind of a little jealous because they want to see their girlfriends or wife or whatever the case is on stage with little to no clothes. And I mean, some females from the male standpoint, not much. I don't see that much in the female from the female standpoint, but they might feel a little bit jealous that the guy dedicate too much time into the sport, because and then they don't get that time to them. So I had 2 questions for you when it comes to this. One is, what kind of advice you give those males or female that are facing that situation? And 2, do we see as a judge or as a person or as a fan of the sport, do you see males in your case or females in my case with the eyes of like, oh my God, this person is amazing, I want to be with them? You see what I mean? With that look, with with a mean look that you give to a person, like, oh my God, I'm in love right now because this person is in bikini? Or did you look from an artistic standpoint? I don't know if I made my question clear, but I think
you did. I think I'll tackle the second question first and come back to the first question, because I can remember that one really well. Right. As a judge, as a coach, this sport is very, very crazy, and you have so much that goes on into it. You have to be a strong person in order to be in this sport. Period. Whether you're a competitor, you're a coach, or you are a judge, across the board, you got to be a strong-minded, strong-willed, very centered in your ethics, your morals, and your values to be a part of this sport. Because let's be honest, it's all about subjective. You're showing your body on stage. I tell everybody, you come to the stage to be judged. to be criticized. We don't look at what's really, of course we do look at what's great about you, but we're picking apart, who's the best. So basically you're lacking something. So you have to be strong mentally, physically, and spiritually in order to do this. As coaches, judges, it's very, very common to have people on both sides, whether it be competitors coming on to the coach or to a judge, or you have where the spouse is like, oh, you're looking too hard at my wife, or as a female coach, I can only speak for myself, because a lot of people know me as being single. I'm not anymore. But being a single coach for so long, you have a lot of wives that see me working with their husbands or boyfriends, fiancés, whatever, and automatically there's some type of an insecurity there.
Right.
That, are you flirting with my husband? Are you, all kinds of stuff. Even as from a judge, are you flirting with, another judge or anything else? And that's where it really comes into your personal rules, values, and ethics. I've always had a policy of no relationships within the sport, as far as it's a coach client relationship.
Right.
Period. If we develop, if that was the case, it's something after a show, but absolutely nothing in that. I tell everybody, I'm the least person for you to be worried about. I don't want your husband. That's drama. So you want to stay away from that. But it's very easy to kind of feel that way, even as a secure woman. I think if I was in a relationship and my partner was working with a coach or judging or other athletes on the stage, it's very, very easy to get a little bit of that. Because let's just be honest, when you're a competitor and you're stage ready, everybody looks great. You've done the dieting, you've done everything that's necessary. So of course you look wonderful and great and perfect. So it's easy to get a little bit of that, hey, is he interested in someone else because he's backstage with all the bikini competitors and they look amazing, or vice versa, is she interested in the bodybuilders because look at how awesome they look back there. Right. So my thing, and bringing it back to your first question, when competitors come to me, especially my girls, one of the things that I always say is, do you have support in this sport? If you are married, if you are engaged, if you are dating someone, how supportive is your mate, whether you're male or female? But typically with my girls, I always ask that. And the reasoning why is because they need to be aware of what goes on. When you're tanning backstage, it's usually a male and a female tent, but you're right next to one another, or, front and back. Everybody's back there naked, you're making to understand that you're going to get tan and you're going to be naked. They need to understand that the bikini is this tiny. It only covers the front and the back. Whoop, that's it. If you're a male bodybuilder, those little trunks are little bitty, so for me, my thing is to always make sure that everybody is healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. Making sure that you understand what is going into the sport, that, that you need that support system, but you also need someone who's not going to be really jealous. This is not a good sport if you already are dating someone who has some issues with you, controlling, insecure. This is not the sport for you to really think about, or you really need to have those hard conversations ahead of time, making sure they understand where they're getting themselves into. And then again, putting up some guidelines and some boundaries, some healthy boundaries there. I let everybody know up front, and especially with all my competitors, males and females, I'm very touchy-feely whenever I'm posing. It don't mean anything. I'm just trying to get you in the right positions. But I say that up front that, so if someone's uncomfortable, I'm not going to come over and touch you. I do plenty of online posing where I don't touch anybody. So obviously I can do it without touching you, but it's about what makes a person feel secure, safe, and comfortable, and that's really important. But a very good point to bring up, because you do see it on both sides, all sides of the sport. And I always say you really have to have a strong mentality. It goes back to the very first thing that we talked about. It's all mental, and that's even part of it. Is you got to be secure with yourself in order to do this sport. And your support system, as in anything that we do in life, is really going to make or break you.
True.
You know, you can look great, you've done all the posing and everything else, but if you're at home and your significant other is beating you down all day, you know, I know you're going to that posing coach and hooking up or whatever. That's not, you know, that's toxic. You want to be able to have a good supporting system whenever you're doing this sport.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. That was why I wanted to bring that up. I think at some point in my life, I faced some kind of situation related to this, and I always hear a lot of competitors talking about these topics, or you know, some do get a lot of support from their spouses, boyfriend, girlfriends, whatever the case is. Others, they have this situation where there's a lot of conflict when it comes to that. And I tell my friends a lot sometimes, like, well, you know, you don't imagine, like, when we're tanning, we're naked. And they're like, you're naked? And like you said, you can be right next to another guy that is naked, or next to a female that is naked. And I don't see nobody's looking at each other like, oh my God, look at you. Like, we're not looking at people that way. Like, literally, like, everybody's trying to figure out their own thing. You're probably going to your routine in your minds. It's on their own zone. When I'm getting tan, there's a lady that's spraying me from ups and down, and I'm butt naked. She's spraying me up and down, and I'm not here thinking like, oh my God, she's looking at my junk. Like, that's the kind of thing I explain people, that your mindset is completely different. Same thing. You, when you're backstage, you've seen a lot of girls. I've seen a lot of girls in bikini. They see a lot of guys. I ask sometimes the girls, like, hey, do you notice this guy? You're like, I was not even paying attention to him because I was so focused.
You're hungry. Let's just be honest. Everybody's hungry, tired. You're not looking at anything other than
that. You're not thinking about anything else in that moment, that you're just going on stage. Make sure you don't mess up in your routine. Make sure you got everything taken care of, your timing, your music. So you focus so much in what you need to do to present yourself the best way on stage, that you're not thinking about other things. Maybe after the show is done, and you start taking pictures and start socializing, you start seeing people differently. But during the show, you're not thinking about this stuff. And that's the one thing I tell them. Like, when I see, like, if I'm seeing a guy or a girl, I'm looking at the guy from, like, okay, to benefit the things that the guy's showcasing on stage. I've seen the girl from her body. It's like a sculpture. Like, oh, it's artistic. You know, we're not seeing it from a perverted mindset, from a bad mindset, from oh my God, I want this girl so bad. Like, that's the things that I try to explain sometimes to my friend, but they sometimes don't get it, because the only thing they see is a girl in bikini or a guy, you know, with no clothes, pretty much. They see a naked body.
The thing that you're right, it's more of an artistic form that we really see.
Right.
Once you do this for a while, everybody looks the exact same. I tell people all the time, I be in the mall or on vacation, and I see somebody and I'm just like, oh, I can make that girl into a bikini girl, or oh my God, he should compete. I'm gonna go and give him my card. I don't ever even look at people like, oh, you know, you're attractive or anything else. My mind is so centered and focused on competing, because this is my livelihood. This is what I do all the time, that really my mind is really focused on that. And you're exactly right. Even whenever I was competing, you know, we're laughing about it, but really and truthfully, you're like, how much longer so that I can go and have, you know, some pizza or whatever it is that you want. Like, you're so tired and you're so hungry and you're so concentrated on competing, that your mind is not on, oh my God, I want to hook up with that person. Right. And realistically, as an athlete, when you're looking at another athlete, whether it be male or female, you're really sizing somebody up. You know, as a female, looking at the other girl like, oh my God, her looks good. Let me pump up mine a little bit more.
Exactly.
Or,
you're right.
You know, as looking at a guy, as from a guy's perspective, you're going, you know, you're doing the same thing. You're sizing him up. You know, oh, his routine was great. I'm going to talk to Michele. What can we do the next time to make my routine stronger? You know, you're thinking about so many different things, and it goes across the board, even into as a judge. You know, a lot of times we start looking at, oh, I'm going to go and talk to that athlete after stage so that they can be better for the next show. Or, you know, hey, you were really in the wrong category. You got a great physique. You know, it's really 9 times out of 10, it's nothing about an attraction or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. Michele, we can go here talking all day.
Absolutely.
Well, I really, before we let you go, give us our social media. When can people reach you out? What's your contact? So anyone that is interested in on hiring you, where can they reach out to you? How can they reach out to you?
Yes, thank you so much. I tell everybody, even if you don't reach out for me for coaching, you just want more information, I'm always happy to share knowledge. Knowledge is power. Please reach out to me, but definitely if you're looking for a good coach, I am your person. I am on Instagram at posing _ queen _. I'm very easy, or even if you just put in posing queen, generally I'll come up as that. You can reach me at my email, which is posedandpoised@gmail.com. Very easy. Everything comes back to Posing Queen if you look it up. I'm on a lot of different websites as a posing coach. Or you can contact me, get in touch with Roger. He has my number. He's always able to share that with you. But I'm pretty easy accessible on Facebook, same thing as Michele. Or Posing Queen, I do have a Facebook page for that. So like I said, as long as you look up Posing Queen, you're 9 times out of 10, you can find me.
That's beautiful. But Michele, thank you so much. It was a pleasure seeing you virtually, and hopefully I see you soon because I have to go practice my posing. And I mean, it's my off season, but I have to go practice my posing. You know, it's interesting. I don't know who was my coach, who was my judge for my last competition, but the one thing they told me that they liked my stage presence. I posted that, and I got to give all the thanks to Michele because we actually work on that. So that was something that she said, we got to prep you on stage so you can represent yourself the best way possible, and we want to outshine that personality you had. That's what exactly she told me. And guess what? I did exactly what she told me to do. And when judges say, hey, you got to work on this, but guess what? This right now, this is good. So we're going to keep that momentum going, and we're going to work on our witnesses so we can do better for 2022.
Absolutely. I want to see you in that winning circle really, really bad. We won our pro card, but we want to have some pro wins as well. So thank you so much for having me. Super excited to finally get to talk to you.
Yeah, same way, Michele. Thank you so much. So I'll see you soon, and thank you. And we keep in touch, okay?
Bienvenidos a Latino y Vegano, un show donde se habla todo lo relacionado sobre el veganismo entre la comunidad latina. latinoyvegano.com